Well, hi guys, my name's Philip Double. I'm here to talk to you about the upcoming influence of Flash on 3D. By no means do we know how this is going to go for certain, but this is about ideas, theories, bouncing some ideas around and opening up conversation. So to get started, as you guys probably know, the new Flash 11 plugin was just recently released after a 6-month beta called Molehill. Flash is introducing true 3D writing to the graphics card instead of the interpreted 3D that they've been calling 3D for the past several years. What this means is that you're able to use graphic card memory and program directly to it, freeing up memory on your CPU as well as improving the speed and power of your 3D design and interactions. What does Flash's involvement mean in the 3D market? Well, we have a handful of things to talk about there and some ideas that I'd like to throw out. And what possibilities does this open technologically in the near future? Okay, as I mentioned, the Flash plugin is using the GPU now, which I don't know how technical most of our audience is here, but that vastly improves the power of the 3D experience because it frees up, like I said, the CPU, but also writes the graphics, the 3D graphics, to a processor specialized for processing graphics, which makes the process much smoother. What Flash is, and what ActionScript is introducing is a series of 3D classes that you're able to program to directly in ActionScript as you would any other Flash development that you're doing. You don't need to know the nitty-gritty details of coding to the 3D card. You're able to just do what you've been doing as a Flash developer for years with a handful of new classes that are pretty clearly described in the ActionScript reference. So there's no need to learn new sets of skills. You're able to develop as you have for years and just learn a handful of new classes. Okay, so why is this a good thing for the market? Well, right now, there's many, and I don't have exact numbers, no one does, but many more Flash developers available than there are 3D Unity developers or even 3D designers. This means that you've got higher bandwidth on your projects once you get your teams up to speed. That means that you're going to be able to get out into the market more quickly, and you have the stable install base of Flash, which automatically updates in most environments these days, which means that you're not asking people to put in a Unity plugin or any other specialized plugin, so you're able to distribute to them immediately without any special installations. The Flash plugin is government approved. Unity has also recently got that, but we know how long it can take to get an install base stably placed across all of the different reaches of the government. And one thing that's really jumps out in the e-learning world is how you're able to now, with this, so many e-learning products being Flash-based, you'll be able to easily integrate this 3D content into what you're already doing as part of your workflow and into your projects that already exist. If you've got, say, an e-learning engine, you don't need to develop any special extra software to integrate a new Flash SWF into that. You can dynamically import it like you already would, or you can have it based, embedded in an HTML page. The idea being that, again, you don't need any special installs. It's a simple step-by-step process to move you through. So say I have a course that really could have benefited that I put out 6 months ago, built on some sort of an engine system, right? And it could have really benefited from a 3D simulation of, let's say, for this case, a cockpit. And, the order of buttons to press you can actually do this in a 3D environment now instead of saying, multiple choice questions or something along those lines. And you can integrate it using SCORM calls and have it directly integrated into the LMS as well. So all those capabilities are kind of there. I mean, that kind of exists with Unity, but you have to jump through a lot of hurdles to get to that. Whereas this, you're doing everything that you were already doing with your e-learning content. You're just kind of getting a little extra spice. This doesn't just bring Flash to us, but then we can start thinking about, well, what other products are out there, and how can we kind of mix and match these? You've got things like Flash Communication Server, Flash Media Streaming Server. Well, what happens when you start mixing ideas like virtual 3D conference room with video streaming, so that you have, say, a presenter for a distance learning class who's on a ship in the Arabian Sea, and we're able to stream video of that speaker into a virtual 3D world instead of shipping them halfway around the world, or being able to take someone on that same ship and allow them, instead of having to travel to National Defense University or somewhere like that to take a course where we have to ship these people around the world, you're able to create a virtual classroom, mix it with something like Flash Comm Server, and not just have video streaming, but have VoIP running through the same interface, and it's all an integrated product family. So then you can have presenters with their avatars presenting in front of a classroom through a normal web interface with no extra special plugins other than Flash plugin, which already they have on their systems, and they're able to take that class from their ship in the Arabian Sea. Instead of right now, I mean, I don't have any idea on the numbers that it costs to ship these sailors around the world, but I'd imagine it's kind of steep. Great savings. And companies have been trying to do this, and some pretty successfully, creating virtual meeting spaces, these types of things, but they require special plugins. They require that all of your content run through their unprotected server and back in. So this kind of opens that door for solutions that really weren't available to us a couple of years ago, realistically. And we kind of covered this stuff already. There's many more Flash developers. You have more bandwidth. Flash developers cost less than your average 3D developer. These types of concepts.
Unity and 3D are the same thing?
Unity is a 3D authoring environment that up until recently only ran on the Unity plugin, which was a fairly large plugin. It was recently approved by the government, but it takes a while to get that install base that you really need, right? So what Unity announced the day that Flash announced that they were producing 3D content, or a 3D plugin, Unity the same day at the same conference, Adobe conference, announced that Unity will be publishing to the Swift format. So, Swift, Flash. So basically, even the people that are using that will be able to integrate with any systems developed this way as well. So if you have something that maybe is better produced in a Unity environment, you can still do that and just pick and choose. And if you have a Unity developer already on staff, he doesn't need to go looking for a new job. He just needs to adapt his process a little bit. And so, yeah, really now just wanted to kind of open it up to have conversation, which I'm enjoying so far.
You develop the 3D itself in another program and bring it in to Flash through the classes?
That's one option, yeah. Okay, so you could, in 3D Studio Max, create a handful of models, right? And all they are is models. And then in your action script, you just reference and import them into Flash and then run your action script against that object like you would an image or another Swift file or a video at this point. It's just a new object that's handled. Okay? And yeah, they have these, the base classes allow you to, basically they obfuscate all the really difficult aspects of coding 3D, which is writing to the graphics card, which is, knowing those specific low-level calls. They obfuscate that and give you like what you're used to as a Flash developer looking at and able to produce in your normal workflow. You just have a new object that's supported, basically.
So there isn't 3D tool. Are there 3D tools built into the new version of Flash that's going to support this, or is it?
Not currently. I'm imagining, and you never know with these guys, but I'm imagining that there will either be an offshoot product that is specifically for 3D modeling, or there's going to be a big change to the Flash interface, the IDE. But I think that what you're going to find and the workflow that makes the most sense to me is that you'll continue doing 3D Studio Max or Maya and producing the appropriate type of objects, either OBJ files or...
I was going to ask, what format can you bring in?
Right now you can do, now I worked predominantly with Molehill. They just released Flash 11 a couple days ago. It supported OBJ files, and it was another very common format.
What is it?
VBS.
It's not VBS.
No. Okay, those and MTLs. Okay, so those were the three, I believe, that were supported under Molehill. And I was able to pick it up with, I mean, I've worked in 3D before, not on the graphics side, but on the programming side. But I was able to pick it up within a couple hours of working with the beta, and that was working with the beta and Away 3D, which is another external library that even has more power than the base Flash library does. And I'd never worked with that, and I was able to produce some examples within just a couple hours.